Hello and welcome to episode number 66 of the Hobbies and Happiness podcast, where we talk about the hobby that makes us happy, tabletop gaming. I'm one of your hosts, Dan.
And I'm Jim, and today we're going over the state of the card games.
Oh, that was nice. The state of the card games.
Yes.
We were like, how are we going to word this? I like that. I like that though. The state of the card games. Mm-hmm. So, all right. Well, before we get into this episode, we need to talk about our sponsor, Amazon Audible. You like audiobooks, Jim? You like audiobooks? I know you do.
Yeah.
You like audiobooks, especially when they're
sometimes.
free. Especially when they're free. If you head over to our affiliate link at audibletrial.com/hobbies and happiness, you can sign up for a free 30-day trial of Amazon's Audible service. And when you sign up, you get a free audiobook added to your account. You get a free credit, so you can use that credit for any free audiobook on Amazon's Audible service. And if you're an Amazon Prime member, you get two free credits added to your account that you can use to get some free audiobooks added to your account. You know what? If you don't like the service at the end of the 30 days, you can cancel, but you get to keep those audiobooks on your account. So again, head over to our affiliate link, audibletrial.com/hobbies and happiness to get your free books added to your account today. Check the link in the description, follow that link, sign up today. All right. So, so we wanted to do kind of just a podcast talking about the current state,
about our favorite things.
Yes, exactly. Our some of our favorite things. I mean, that's kind of all this is what we're about, right? At Hobbies and Happiness, the hobbies that make us happy. And you know what? It's card games, dude. It is card games, tabletop gaming. I was thinking, so, I always say where we talk about the hobby that makes us happy, tabletop gaming. I'm thinking about like changing it to card gaming, but it's really it really is tabletop gaming, just everything.
We like other tabletop games.
We do. It's just I know we talk about card games, but
we're card game players.
We're 100% card game players, and so what I wanted to do is kind of touch on the current meta, essentially, of the card game market. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to go through a lot of card games that are on the market, kind of one by one at a time. And, really, like, for us being a card game player, anytime I hear about a card game that's out that I don't know about, I get excited because I'm like, oh, all right, let's try this game out. Let's see what it's about. Because, like, as a card game player, I am always searching for like that card game that I'm going to fall in love with, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, me personally, like I play a lot of Magic, right? And like I play a lot of Arena. Okay. Mm-hmm. In fact, before you got here, like I'm playing the standard deck. It's an Esper mid-range deck. Okay. In standard. Okay. And so it's a fun deck. Mm-hmm. Okay. But dude, I hate the resource system. Oh, I hate the land system so much.
Standard, yeah.
I hate the land system so much because you're in the later stages of a game. Okay, like I've got 2 cards in hand. Yep. I need to let's see what I draw into. I draw into a land. Next turn, I draw into another land, and then another land. Which again, it's a card game, right? RNG is a thing. I get it. I'm there. I'm right there with you. But it feels so bad. Like it feel one thing to draw a card that doesn't do me much. Yeah. Okay. But it's a playable card.
Are you saying that you want fetch lands in standard because it kind of cuts down how many lands are kind of in the deck? Because if you're playing one land to take another land from your deck, well, now that's 2 spots that was filling. So you want to have fetches in standard.
It's funny you say there are fetches in standard, kind of.
Don't lie to my face, Dan.
There were in New Capenna. Okay, there were some lands that when they come into play, you have to sacrifice them and then find a basic land type. Yeah. Okay. I don't know what they're called. Like because in Magic you have these different
force fetches. I don't know.
These land cycles have different names. Like the fetches, for instance, the current one of the current lands that are in standard right now. You've got the Pain lands have just come have come into standard again. Okay, so there's all these different namings, right? And it's funny. My opponent in the last game I was playing, they were playing these sack fetch. I don't know, whatever you want to call them. Right?
Force fetches.
Yeah, force fetches. Okay, all right. And so as they're playing, I'm like, deck thinning is deck winning. I literally said that to myself.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, that's what they're doing. And I immediately thought of Jim saying deck thinning is deck winning, right? And so even then, I'm just like deck thinning, yeah, good. You keep doing it. I still hate the land system, still don't like it, but I am playing this game.
Yep.
So it's like I'm a typical Magic player, right? Playing this game, even though I hate the land system, but it is one of the most popular card games on the market.
When
right?
it works in your favor, you love it.
Yeah, right.
When it works against you,
Right.
it's the worst thing in the game.
And
I
that's
only lost because I drew 17 lands.
well, and that's why I like the triomes, being able to cycle them for another card in hand, right?
Yeah, the triomes are cool.
Yeah, so being able to do that is good. So we're already starting about we're already talking about the current state, right, of card games, right?
Maybe this is just a rant video about every card game.
Right. So I wanted to start off the conversation with the big three, right? So what I was saying before this was, as a card game player, I feel like I'm always in search of like the perfect card game for me, right? That I love to play. That there's a community in my local area that I can play with, right? And so I'm always in search for that. And so right now, one of the card games we are really learning and diving deeply into is Final Fantasy card game, okay, which we'll get into in a few minutes here. And then there's quite a few, and like you see all these boxes back here. There's like, if you're eagle-eyed, you can spot a lot of different card games here, right? You've got some TCGs. Actually, I don't know if you can see maybe a couple of TCGs. There's not a lot of TCG stuff on these shelves, but you've got some expandable card games. You've got some LCGs. You've got a lot of different card games that are back here. And I love card games. Like, and both Jim and I, we love a lot of these different card games, right? So I wanted to let everybody know, like let our podcast listeners and our YouTube audience just know what some of these games are that are on the market and kind of the current state of them. Okay. So hopefully, maybe you've heard of all of these. Maybe you haven't heard of some of them. If you haven't, hopefully this can be a good catalyst to get you to at least start looking into them. And as we go, some of these games we're going to be providing making content for. Some of them we won't. But there's a lot. There's a lot of card games, right? Yep. So again, the big three, right? Big three. You've got Magic, Pokemon, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic, we've touched on this so many times, but most recent set, Dominaria United. I have no idea what expansion set number this is. 4, 5, 57. I don't know. I really don't know.
I don't know.
It's their 30th year.
Honestly, I was telling Dan the other day, I'm like, I didn't even realize the set dropped.
Yep.
I was just in Target.
I think you mentioned it on last week's episode, actually.
Yeah.
But like, if you're involved with Magic at all, like you can, it is crazy how easy it is to lapse and be like, holy cow, I haven't even been paying attention. But the last time I paid attention, there have been 2 sets that have come out. Yep. Like, what in the world?
Yep.
It's really crazy. It literally is a full-time job to
keep up with Magic.
Keep up with it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, it used to be a joke in the content creator space about it's always spoiler season. Now it literally always is spoiler season. Always. So Magic is thriving and very healthy. I was watching a video not recently about again, anytime you see new card games on the market, like, oh, this is coming for Magic. No, it's not. But one of the things that they're saying is like, this is the Magic. The only thing that can kill Magic is Magic. Yeah. The only thing that can kill Warhammer is Warhammer. Like, Warcraft, same thing. Like, the games themselves are the only things that can actually kill them. Yep. And and we've seen it time and time again of games kill themselves.
The funny thing is, World of Warcraft was this close to killing itself.
Yeah, it was.
It's close.
It was very close. Yeah, yeah. But I think Wizards of the Coast is doing as good a job as I think they can, because like they're actively very trying, and I feel like they're doing a pretty good job with R&D, marketing, just every.
Yeah.
There was one thing with marketing. I saw it briefly. I didn't really get into it, but Wizards did something. Did you hear about this cosplay thing?
I don't think so.
There was they were trying to market some cosplay thing, because there's a big cosplay community within the Magic community, which is within a lot of I'm just gonna say nerd communities, because I can't think of any better term
Nerd
to say.
culture?
I mean, it is a nerd culture thing. It really is. So if you were on Twitter at all, you might have seen something that happened. I honestly, it was just a footnote for me. Like I just randomly saw something, and I didn't dive deep into it. I just saw that it was a thing. But in any case, I feel like Wizards is doing. They're trying to sell their product, and they put a lot of money into marketing and R&D. And Magic is thriving. They are Dominaria's the 30-year anniversary, and if you're involved in Magic at all, I mean, all you need to do just show up to any local game store, and they probably have a thriving Magic community, unless you're Team Covenant and you don't have a Magic community because they don't want to.
I can think of two in the area that don't really that don't really have a Magic scene at all.
In our area?
Yeah.
There are stores that don't have a Magic scene in our area?
Yeah.
Really?
One's in Tinley.
Okay. Well, but hang on. The what you're referring to is I feel like is just a retail store. Like, do they have? You're talking
They
about?
have some people that come into play.
Really?
But
they have tables. Unless you're talking about GG, the old GG.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one in Tinley.
Okay.
Like, what other one was there?
I thought. Never mind.
At my work?
Yes, I thought. That's what I thought you were talking
that's
about.
Orland.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. That is Orland.
And then there's another card shop in Chicago that is like specifically Cardfight Vanguard.
Really?
Specifically Vanguard.
Interesting.
But it's partially because I believe they set stuff up with Bushiroad to where they're able to get cheaper product directly from Bushiroad.
Okay.
And they only supply Bushiroad products. So Vanguard, Weiss Schwartz, Luck and Logic.
Is Weiss Schwartz Bushiroad?
I believe so.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just found that's another game that I just recently found out about.
If you're an anime fan, you would like Weiss Schwartz because they have this game system, but they just take a bunch of different IPs and they put it into the game.
I saw they have Toy Story stuff.
Oh, do they? I had no idea.
I thought it might have been Toy Story or just Pixar in general.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, I just recently saw that. I'm like, that's interesting.
I know that they have Attack on Titan.
And
they also have a game called Disgaea. Disgaea.
Yeah.
However you want to pronounce it.
Yeah.
And that's partially what got me into wanting to even play it. I saw that they had Disgaea. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And then I saw that they did like a short print on it, and all the decks were ridiculously expensive.
So I just found it. There's 4 Pixar sets for Weiss Schwartz. You got Toy Story, Monsters Inc.,
Wow.
Cars, and then just the Pixar All Stars.
Is that new?
Yeah, 2022 this year.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I saw it like a week ago.
Yeah.
So I'm like, interesting. I'm like,
You know, there's this other card game that Bushiroad has, which I love playing it,
Okay.
but I hate the name so much, and I refuse to play it because of it.
Okay.
It's called Buddy Fight.
Oh, I've heard that.
Yes,
I've heard that. Yeah.
I can't play it
Why? Because of the name?
because I can't be like, you guys want to play Buddy Fight? I can't. I just can't, man.
That's funny. Have you?
Say it.
Hey, Jim, you want to play Buddy Fight?
No.
That's funny, dude.
And they already had
Can you imagine being in a group of people? Hey, who wants to play Buddy Fight?
no one. Go away.
You probably have so many people look at you like,
What?
what's this
Is
dude
that like?
talking
Is that
about?
Cardfight Vanguard? Is that like Cardfight?
Oh my goodness, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah. And Cardfight Vanguard has that second part where you just call it Vanguard,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
You want to play Vanguard?
Yeah.
But Buddy Fight is just that. It's just
Yeah.
Buddy Fight.
Wants to play Buddy Fight. Oh my
Not
goodness,
me.
that's weird.
I
That's
I really enjoy the game though.
yeah.
I can't get.
You
past
just
the
can't
name.
you can't get past
Yeah.
it, huh? Yeah. All right. So Magic alive and thriving and healthy,
100%.
and they're not going anywhere.
125%.
Yeah, you're not wrong. All right, next one is Pokemon. Okay,
Yay!
Pokemon is another one that for for all looking at all available data, it is very healthy and it is thriving, and I'm very interested too. Like I've seen quite a bit of Pokemon commercials, and not just like for Pokemon the game, but the card game specifically. And the Pokemon company talking about like organized play, and like as we get back to tournaments and in IRL play, they're wanting to get more people out and playing the game. And it seems to be alive and thriving, and especially even in our local community. I've seen quite a bit of people still playing the game. So Pokemon, like I call Pokemon like the original collectible card game, because we've talked about it before. A lot of people just collect Pokemon cards just to collect them.
Yep.
And not even necessarily play. And that's how I feel like that's how a lot of Pokemon players like started into the game, is just collecting the cards.
Yeah, because like you think about it, right? Like Yu-Gi-Oh, people don't really go out and like, unless you're in Yu-Gi-Oh, you're not going out and trying to collect these old school cards, first edition LOB, right? You're not trying to go get the Blue Eyes White Dragon. You're not trying to go find first edition of all the Exodia pieces, right? Unless you're in the game and you want to collect those. But people that aren't even into Pokemon are wanting these old school cards. Or if they don't even play the game, they haven't touched it in 20 years, and they're like, "Oh, I used to have these cards. Let me buy them again."
Right.
And it's a thing of, there's a lot of really expensive old cards in Pokemon, and you can also say that there's a lot of old expensive cards in Magic. But the thing is, you're not buying those old expensive cards in Magic unless you're pretty much playing in those formats.
Yeah, and the thing, and and this is a reason, we talked last week about Disney and Lorcana, and this is another reason I think Pokemon is a better comparison to Lorcana, because Pokemon, when the card game came out, had already been a successful IP.
Yeah.
And so people already had that familiarity with those Pokemon, those original Pokemon of you gotta catch them all.
Yep.
They took that 100% to heart, and they already had their favorite characters. Like people
Their
love
marketing
Charizard.
was spot on. Man.
Absolutely.
You gotta catch them all.
Absolutely. And like they were geniuses. They were geniuses. I feel like geniuses ahead of their time, right? And so you had a success. I mean, dude, I remember ditching class with a Game Boy and going to the bathroom and just playing Pokemon.
I just played in class.
Yeah. Jim, what do you? Yes.
What's up? What? Bulbasaur.
Yeah,
Answer
yeah.
Bulbasaur.
Yeah, I left. I'm like, yeah, I'm not feeling good. So like when you have that history of, I mean, like think about it too. Like if you played, I mean, how many hours did you put into like the original Pokemon game on Game Boy?
Oh, in the originals?
Yeah, the originals.
Not a whole lot.
Okay.
I played them, but I didn't get heavily involved in it until Generation 3, Generation 4.
Okay.
My Pokemon Pearl has 1,000 hours on it.
There you go, 1,000 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, so like imagine putting 1,000 hours into a game and you having your team, your Pokemon team, right? And then finding out, oh, there's a card game.
Yeah.
I mean, what cards are you going to go after? Like your team, like that would be your first thing of, okay,
who's your favorite Pokemon while that entire time you were playing? You know.
Yeah, exactly. So you're like, all right, well, I just want to collect those cards just to have it, and then be like, you know, I remember playing the game and putting 1,000 hours into this game. You know, it's just having those cards. Like that is why I think Lorcana is a much better comparison and analogy to Pokemon than any other card game, really.
Dan's gonna get every single Aladdin card.
Dude, you're not wrong, man. 100%. 100%. I think I've said this before, but and my parents would tell you this too. I mean, I don't know. I wore out my Aladdin VHS. Like I watched that movie so many times. That was just my favorite Disney movie when I was a kid. I absolutely loved it. And so like for me, it's obviously nostalgia. And like I remember playing the Sega Genesis Aladdin game. When I was a kid, that game was hard. Same thing with Lion King, right? Right. So
they still are difficult.
They still are, but they're easier for me now playing them, right? So like I've got so many memories of the movie Aladdin, right? So now it's like, okay, we've got these cards. Dude, like I'm on a build an Aladdin deck. Okay. I want to just have these cards and then put them in a shadow box or whatever, frame them. You know, it's that like it's a perfect analogy to Pokemon because like there's that nostalgia and there's already that connection with those characters and with that IP. So
I want to make sure I get every single Frozen card and every single Mulan card.
Yeah, there you go.
Those are my two go-tos.
Yeah, there you go. Dragon. I'm not a lizard. I don't do that tongue thing. So, all right. The last big three, Yu-Gi-Oh! I want to let Jim kind of touch on Yu-Gi-Oh! So let us know like how what's the current state of Yu-Gi-Oh! How healthy is that game?
So honestly, they just came out with a ban list that as of today went live. Okay. And they really changed it up, the competitive play aspect. Okay. They pretty much brought the game to a slower pace and now have allowed control decks to kind of take over the format. Okay. Which I love. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But a lot of people hate it. Because
a lot of people don't like control.
Yeah. So
I feel like especially in Yu-Gi-Oh, there's got to be a lot of people who don't like control.
They already aren't paying cost for stuff. They have no resources. They're just like, I want to go fast and I just want to shut you out. Yeah. Right. And we're like, no, I don't think you will. Yeah. Yeah. And and you know, like we've compared it before. Yu-Gi-Oh is pretty much legacy in Magic. Yeah. Right. Right. And if you don't have these cards in your hand, pretty much the force of wills, these hand trap cards to stop your opponent on their turn, it is very difficult for you to now just be like, all right, I'm going to start playing my stuff. But they have already put out 3 cards that can negate your special summons or your summons, whatever it is. Right. And so, if you don't have a way to get around this stuff, it's very difficult. Yeah. So it seems as of right now, the game has been slowed down a little bit, which I think is a very good thing. It's still pretty much like a 4-turn clock. Same with Magic modern format. Right. Which is a good thing, but the actions per minute is a lot or I guess actions per turn is a lot higher.
Yeah, right.
In comparison to Magic's.
Right.
But you're still able to kill someone in that 4-turn time frame.
Yeah.
Aside from that, they've been producing 4 sets every single year, and then I want to say they have reprint sets as well. Every single year they come out with like a gold series.
Okay.
And they've been doing that for, I want to say, close to 10 years.
Okay.
And so that's going extremely well for them. Then they also have these little mini sets that introduce 3 new archetypes. Most of the time it's for just like collection purposes.
Okay.
But every now and again there is an archetype from those sets that are just really good and become staples in the competitive play.
Okay.
So aside from that, they have introduced, this was last year, I want to say. Last year, they introduced new formats. So it's making it to where people can play other styles of Yu-Gi-Oh! Rather than just the most competitive form of it.
Yeah. Which is always a good thing.
Yeah. The one big problem with Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, though, it's not very beginner friendly. You need someone to like hold your hand through this if you're trying to get into it.
Yeah.
Even if you played a bunch of years ago and you're like, oh, I can come back with my deck. No.
Are you talking about like current standard formats of Yu-Gi-Oh, or like just the current state of Yu-Gi-Oh in general?
So there's no standard format of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Okay.
It's pretty much cards from the beginning of time to current day. So pretty much legacy.
So it's or always vintage. Like a legacy format.
Yeah, pretty much legacy, because there's a ban list, there's a semi-limited list, and then also limited list.
Gotcha.
So how many copies of certain cards you can use.
Gotcha.
Which is also, I think, the biggest downfall of the game, because since you have such a wide variety of cards, people can just instantly come in and be like, all right, well, I'm able to use these cards, so I'm going to use them, but then get destroyed. So you could also kind of say it's like a rotating format, because normally in the last 2 years tends to be the most powerful cards in the game. Right.
Power creep.
Exactly. Until there's that moment of like, oh, these new cards came out, they're ridiculously strong. But a card that was 20 years old synergizes so well with these cards, and then it's completely broken, and now that card gets banned in the next 3 months.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes there's even an emergency ban, which they're just like, all right, this is way too powerful, we got to get rid of it.
Yeah. So how often do they do those emergency bans?
I can only think of 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Kind of. I want to say 2 happened, but the one that I can remember exact name was it was a deck called Pepe.
Okay.
Performapal. Yeah, it was Performapal. And this deck was all about, I forget exactly the names of it. And so it was a why can't I Link? No. You would utilize pendulums. That's what they're called.
Okay.
Pendulum monsters. And it made it to where you would have 1 card and you would +7.
Okay.
So you would have these cards that you could put into the back row, and they would have a scale between 1 and 8, right? So you could special summon cards from your hand and also from your extra deck.
Okay.
With as long as the star was between 1 and 8. So you could go 2 to 7, and you could spam out an entire board, 5 cards, right? Then you can start putting those together. So either Exceed, Synchro, Link Summon. Well, Link Summon's different. But you can do these other things. And then remember, these pendulum cards don't go into the graveyard. It goes into the extra deck.
Okay.
So if there was a thing to where you didn't activate your pendulum scales, you were just activating cards from your hands, getting stuff from your deck, putting that out on board, and now you're pretty much tributing these or sacrificing them to bring out a stronger monster. Okay. Now those 2 cards, rather than being in your graveyard, those are now in the extra deck. So now you can go ahead and activate your pendulum scale to resummon those 2 cards out.
Okay.
Now there's a joke, but it's 100% a thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! To where you just like take your cards and you just special summon. You just make it rain all your cards on the field.
Right.
And it's a joke, but it's 100% a thing.
Is it really?
100% a thing.
Holy cow. Dude.
And
That's
so
crazy.
in general, Yu-Gi-Oh is fun. It's especially if you don't want to worry about resources in card games. Yu-Gi-Oh is extremely fun, and there's ways you can play all their formats now because of the Time Wizard format. And so local tournaments can set things up for that. But overall, the market is pretty decent. Every set, there tends to be a money card, which we're looking at like $70+, you know?
Okay.
And, but yeah, there's overall, and depending on what country you're in, Yu-Gi-Oh is either number 1 or number 2. In Japan, it's the number 1 card game.
Yeah.
Magic hasn't really done anything in China or Japan.
Yeah. Magic does not have a good foothold in those countries.
Yeah.
But overseas, Yu-Gi-Oh. I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh pretty much owns non-Western markets.
Yeah.
I think.
One thing I have also noticed that in Chicago, Yu-Gi-Oh tends to be like the number 1 card game.
You know, I don't know why, but that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I don't know why it doesn't, but it does not surprise me. It's just that in my head, that makes sense.
It makes sense.
It makes sense to me. You know, in college, I used to live downtown in college. So, you know, I spent a good part of my life in a city. So that makes sense to me. Interesting. So cool.
Strange.
So, all right. So that's the big 3, right?
Yep.
And, you know, I also feel like one reason these 3 are called the big 3 is throughout history, many card games have tried to imitate the formulas of Magic, Pokemon, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Because within those 3 games, you have 3 very distinct and very different game systems.
Yeah.
They're very, very, very different. And then you can see, again, throughout card game history, you have, that's a Magic clone, that's a Pokemon clone, that's a Yu-Gi-Oh! Clone, okay? And I feel like when you spot those clones, they tend to either fall off, they either sizzle, fizzle, okay, or they do okay, but they just don't see the success that the original did, which again makes sense historically. Okay, something that came after just is not going to do as well as the original. Okay,
pretty much.
And there's going to be games on this list that are kind of they're kind of clones of one of these 3 games, but not a lot of them. Okay. But it's when you get to doing something original, a different game system than these 3, when you see more success. Not necessarily more success than these 3, okay, but just success in general, okay, in terms of we have created a successful game, we have a thriving community, and we are doing well as a game, okay? All right, so there's one other TCG that is kind of pushing its way into that conversation. That's Flesh and Blood. Okay. Flesh and Blood is, again, it is very unique. It is not like Magic. It is not like Pokemon. It is not like Yu-Gi-Oh! It is very, very distinct. And before I forget, I do want to make note, if you like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or if you want to get into Yu-Gi-Oh!, you need to check out Team APS on YouTube. Probably one
100%.
of the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Content creators.
Professor was just doing content with them.
They were doing quite a few videos. Yep. So check out Team APS if you're at all interested in any Yu-Gi-Oh! Content for sure. But back to Flesh and Blood. Flesh and Blood is really actually nipping at the heels of the big 3, making its way into the conversation.
Yep.
It's a very, very well designed game. Okay. And again, that's another community that is very thriving. Now, From what I've seen on the internet, you're having a lot of, which again, this is not surprising on the internet, but there's many people in that community who have bad things to say about these other card game communities, right? Which it's card game tribalism.
Everyone has a hater,
me, right?
Everyone has a hater.
And so it was funny because I was having a conversation with that community about some artwork and some secret layer cards or whatever.
Yeah.
And because somebody was saying a bad thing, they were basically smack talking, right? These secret layers, and I'm like, because again, like art is extremely subjective, right? And with secret layer, this specific secret layer was a focus on a specific artist, right? And this artist had a distinct style. Okay, very. It was not detailed, not detailed like a lot of fantasy artwork is. But the art was much more modern, okay. And much more. It was. I mean, I feel like that's honestly the best way I can describe it. Is just not very detailed. I thought
just more simplistic.
Yes, very simplistic. A lot of just different colors. But just extremely simplistic. Okay. And so there are these people who are like, oh man, this is terrible art on a card. And I'm like, well, actually, if you look at the specific artists, like I went to their website and I'm like, this is very on par for what this artist does. And this secret layer is a series based on this artist's artwork. Okay. And so if you compare these cards to their artwork, you can tell it's their pieces, right? And so I'm like, it's like, I understand you don't like the art. I mean, that's because again, art is very subjective, right? I just think it's a silly thing to be like, oh man, look at these magic cards suck because, and which again, you're going to get, right? You're going to get it, right? But I am all about like, just understand like what it's there for, its purpose. And then again, if it's still subjective, right? At the end of the day, it's still subjective. You don't like it, that's fine too. Like I get it.
And this person, they've done artwork for magic cards before?
I don't think so. I actually don't think so. No.
Okay.
I don't think so. Which again, for these types of products, secret layers is not uncommon. It's not abnormal. So, getting them, it's like getting an artist to work outside their comfort zone a little bit and try to, do something a little different. Right. But still like in their own style. Okay. I think as an artist, that kind of pushes you, to new heights and whatnot. So, but in any case, Flesh and Blood is, again, if you're not at all familiar with the game, just go check it out, kind of see what it's about. It's very much one-on-one, hand-to-hand combat style
100%.
Card game. It's very, very cool. There's a lot of unique things within that game that I think if you're at all interested in card games or specifically competitive card games, I think you'd definitely enjoy that.
And something different. If you're used to playing the big three or maybe even play these other card games, if you haven't played Flesh and Blood, it is something completely different than what you're used to. Absolutely.
So, all right, a couple of others that I want to touch on. We've got 4 here in this list. You've got Dragon Ball Super card game. You've got Digimon. You got Final Fantasy trading card game, and then Cardfight Vanguard. So all 4 of these have kind of touched on before. Have you ever played Dragon Ball Super card game?
Yes, I've played it a few times.
Okay. How is that game?
It gave me a headache every single time.
Did it really?
Every single time I played this card game, I enjoyed it, right? I liked the different strategies that you could do.
Okay.
And it made it to where, so kind of like Pokemon, right? You have like these prize pools or pretty much your HP pool. And whenever your opponent would deal a damage directly to you, you would actually take from your HP pool and put it into your hand.
Okay.
So it benefited the person who was now taking damage rather than Pokemon benefiting the person who is destroying
dealing the damage. Yeah. Right.
So it makes it to where it's like, all right, well, sure, I took a point of damage, but now I have one more card in my hand. And you know what they say about life. right?
It's a resource.
It's a resource. The only one that matters is the last one.
Correct. That's interesting because that sounds like Elder Scrolls Legends.
Okay.
Elder Scrolls Legends, a digital card game, okay? And I think you started at 20 or 25, but every 5 health that you lost, you broke a rune, and when one of your runes was broken, you would get to draw a card.
Okay.
So that's what that kind of reminds me of. So
yeah, 100%.
So okay, Dragon Ball Super. All right.
And the cards were also multi-purpose as well. So
okay.
Every single card you could put it into your back row upside down, and it will be able to tap for mana.
So kind of like versus system.
Yeah.
2PCG?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And we'll touch on that too.
Yeah, and there are 4 colors, I want to say.
Okay.
Red, blue, yellow, green. So depending on which one you have, that's what it's producing.
Okay.
So, and I want to say okay, yeah, that's not 100% correct. I was going to say you only need one of the specific resource, but the card will actually tell you the total amount of mana and how many pips of specific color that mana has to be.
Okay.
So if you see like 4 and double blue, it's not like Magic where it's 6 mana. It's 4 mana, but 2 of that has to be blue.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Next one, Digimon. Digimon was fun.
Yeah.
So I've played that a couple times.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Again, Digimon.
The game is fast. So fast.
Digimon is another one that is like Pokemon, but is also different enough.
Yeah.
Okay, to be like they added a lot onto that Pokemon formula.
Yeah.
To make it its own thing.
You
and
know
they
why
did a really good job.
You know why that's really funny to me? Because Digimon and Pokemon are so similar in like the shows.
Yeah.
All right. They're not extremely similar they're what they are.
They're market competitors.
But yeah, exactly. They're pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Digital monsters.
I remember growing up and then having those two shows on, Saturday morning cartoons. You had Pokemon and then you had Digimon. I watched Pokemon.
Digimon was better.
You think so?
Digimon was
I
better.
can't say one way or another because I never watched Digimon.
I
only watch Pokemon.
Why I say Digimon is better is because it's better for the people who were growing up with both of them, because Ash stays the exact same age.
Yeah.
Digimon, they grow up. They go through high school.
Okay.
They're in college. They're living lives. They're working.
Gotcha.
And with the new stuff that they just have, they have like a series of movies, and they're pretty much out and about working and whatnot. So it's like, you've gone through this entire journey with them.
Yeah,
and
that's
you
cool.
guys are pretty much doing the same thing in life.
Cool. That's cool. All right, the next one, Final Fantasy trading card game.
Yes.
We're having a blast with that game.
Yes.
Final Fantasy TCG is very, very, very similar to Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
But again, that's another one. Honestly, I feel like that's a combination of Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
Very much so.
I think like Yu-Gi-Oh. Oh, okay.
I mean, you've got the different rows. You have
yeah, but the back row in Yu-Gi-Oh is for trap cards and Magic cards.
Right, but you have distinct rows. There are no distinct rows in Magic. There are not. It's just your battlefield.
Well, I mean, you have a, isn't it like a, well, I mean, you can't just put your mana cards in front of your creature cards. That is,
I mean, you could.
That is now a rule in competitive Magic.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Like they have to be below
It has to be behind your creatures.
Interesting.
So there's kind of a row now for Magic.
Interesting.
Competitive play.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I always put them there, at the bottom.
Yeah. Most people do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, you're able to like really mess with your opponent if you put them out front.
Yeah.
Which I used to do at Grapple.
Yeah.
When I first heard about it, that it was like a scumbag thing to do, I'm like, perfect, I'm doing it. And then I would use,
and that gives you a peek into the psyche of Jim Morgan, ladies and gentlemen.
And then I used white border lands because everyone at Grapple hated white border lands. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna put them out front.
Again, you are peeking into the psyche of how Jim Morgan likes to play these card games.
What is wrong with me?
So, all right, you got a Final Fantasy and then Cardfight Vanguard. Cardfight Vanguard is super unique, very different, but that's another one that's
it's a bit like Pokemon,
Japanese, because that's from Bushiroad. So correct me if I'm wrong, but is Cardfight Vanguard more popular in the Eastern markets?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, Vanguard is very popular. And there was a Duel Masters or Kaijudo, which it was Duel Masters, and then Wizards of the Coast bought it, turned it into Kaijudo. It died in the US, but it's actually doing phenomenal in Japan.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. There's another
Vanguard, is doing extremely well in the eastern side of the world.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we'll touch on it again, but Disney Lorcana, we know nothing right now. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to say something that might be a little controversial, probably not, but I have to chuckle a little bit at I'm seeing a lot of people looking at the market for Disney Lorcana cards. We have 7 cards that were given out, that you were able to buy at D23, okay? Yeah. And so people are all speculating about these prices and then saying, "Oh, it's a good thing that prices are the way that they are, X dollars." I saw that somebody had the Mickey Mouse Brave Little Tailor card. Yeah. Graded. They had it signed and graded, and it cost them like close to $400. And they were like, "Was it worth it?" And people are like, "Well, if you see this card is selling for $800." I'm like, there is no supply. There is not zero, but the supply is extremely small right now. Now, granted, these exact cards are not going to be printed again, okay? Because with this specific printing, with the foiling that they did for these collector cards, okay, I just think that these prices are going to go way down. They're not going to be sustainable. Yeah. I think. Now, granted, we are also talking about Disney collectors here. So once this game is out and about in basically in the market, right, for everybody to get their hands on, because again, these cards will be printed in the first set. Okay. Yep. Then we will see what those prices look like. I also do not like looking at eBay prices. Okay. Because they're just I mean, it is a data point. It is a data point, right?
It's not good.
But it's still a data point. It does show you what price somebody paid for a product.
Yes.
Okay. So that at least gives me some information, right? But it's very sporadic, extremely sporadic. Okay. And it's like, oh, if you look at the average price based on how many sales. Oh, 2? Okay. Then okay. That's like anecdotal data.
It's literally nothing.
Yeah, right. So like what I would say is if you're talking about the market for Disney Lorcana cards, I think you need to take a step back and just wait, be patient. Yeah. Like
people don't even know how to play the game yet.
Correct. But again, when talking about the market, I don't think that's going to matter, right? Yeah. It's not going to matter. But what will matter? I think it's going to matter more when the market is flooded with supply. Yeah. With the supply of cards.
True. I'm more so saying it matters because of like, all right, these cards can be ridiculously expensive right now, and then people find out that
the card's not very good.
Oh, this card sucks?
Yeah.
The card's gonna drop.
Yeah, correct.
Or even if one is extremely good, but then you were saying that it's just the artwork that they're not going to use again. They're going to reprint these cards in the first set. Is that what you said?
Oh, so these cards will be printed in the first set, but again, kind of like the collector's sets and Secret Layers. Okay. The foiling is going to be different. You know, if it's in Magic speak, okay, you know, like in when we had those different the different foiling and whatnot. So these cards had a specific foiling, and they had like a D23 stamp on it too. So you know, again, with Magic, you got the Planeswalker symbol on it. You know, so they will be different enough to have a different price point in the marketplace. Okay, I just think it's way too early to be speculating about costs and saying this is actually good for Lorcana or whatever. It's way too early. It's way too early to be having those conversations.
I think the best thing it does for it is kind of adds hype to it.
Yeah.
Gets more stuff out there about it. Or people seeing things.
Yeah. Like, and I'm all for the hype. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm all for the hype, but I am not for the one thing that I am not for is speculation based on faulty information and or faulty data. And right now, I think that is just it's not good data to be basing anything off of. And that's just my opinion, right? If you think I'm wrong, let me know. Like, I'm interested to know. But I just think the supply is extremely limited. You have all the 5 people who have these cards, and they're trying to sell to other 5 people, and then they're going to sell it back. It's just, I don't know. I just think it's silly. I just think it's a little silly right now. But again, I'm super hyped and super excited for the game. I just like let's have these conversations around good data, and like let's have these conversations when there's a lot of information to be had, and so we're giving people good information.
And like about a year. About a year.
About a year.
Fall of 23.
Yeah. You're not wrong. All right, so that's enough talking about Lorcana. Okay. There's like 3 other categories that will pop through real quick. So there's other expandable card games that are competitive, okay? But these are just the expandable card games that are not TCGs or CCGs. Like they're boxed products, okay, that you buy the card, you get everything. Got Ashes Reborn. You have Android Netrunner. Android Netrunner is a weird thing because that was an old game that is now dead, but is also brought back to life by the community. You have Game of Thrones, the card game, kind of in that same vein. You have Versus System 2PCG. You have Keyforge, and you have Soulforge Fusion. Ashes Reborn up here somewhere. Again, buy the product, and you've got pretty much all the cards in there that you need. They do have other expansions that are out. They're small packs that, again, you've got all the cards you need. You can build decks and then, play with your friends. Okay. I have fun with Ashes. I think it's great. The downside to these games, okay, is finding people who know how to play the game and want to play it. That's the thing with a lot of these expandable card games. So if you find one, you're like, oh man, this is great. Okay, next step is same thing with every card game is who am I going to play with? So Ashes Reborn, a lot of fun. There is a good community out there. Again, check the internet. There's an Ashes Reborn Discord. So there is a lot of people who are playing this game. So I don't want to make it seem like it's dead by any means, because it's definitely not. Android Netrunner, same thing. I've heard a lot of great things about it. I personally haven't played it. I do have some Netrunner cards, but there's a lot of great content out there for Netrunner. Game of Thrones, the card game, is a competitive LCG. I guess I'm pretty sure that's considered an LCG because it was from Fantasy Flight. They're not making cards for it, but that also has a Facebook group. There's a community out there of people who do play this game. So that is, again, similar to Ashes Reborn, where you buy the cards, you buy the box, you've got all the cards that you need, and then there's other expansion products you can get as well. Versus System. We're getting into this game. It is cool. It is a lot of fun. Versus System. This term. Well, the decks that you have played so far, we've just been playing with pre-constructed lists just to get the hang of it.
I'm never good at picking a pre-con list ever.
And that's just where, again, for me, I think I just get lucky. I just get the better one, I guess. I think that's basically what it is, to be honest with you. But I really just use it as, okay, now I really get a good understanding of how this game works.
I also just think the villains one I was playing is terrible.
Yeah, that wasn't very good.
That
just wasn't very good.
Holy
Yeah. However, versus system, I'm telling you, that is like Commander Light. It really is. It very much is. It very much feels like I'm playing Magic Commander because all your decks are built around a main character that you can upgrade throughout the game. It's very cool.
Hulk was so cool.
Hulk was super cool.
Hulk was so cool.
Put counters on it, take counters off, draw cards. Yeah, it was cool. Yeah. Hulk was really cool. So, I've got a lot of cards for that game. And that's another one where there's a Discord for it. There is a pretty healthy community. And Upper Deck supports that game very well. They just had a new format come out. So check Upper Deck's website if you want to get involved in that game at all. Keyforge, another unique deck game, recently did a Kickstarter. I think they had like over $800,000 raised.
Oh, awesome.
That was one that was Fantasy Flight did own that game, or only the license or whatever. But now it got picked up by another company. I can't remember who it is.
Okay.
But they are bringing that back. Soulforge Fusion is a game from Justin Gary, who did Ascension, I believe.
Okay.
Pick two factions, put them together, and then you go.
Yeah.
Another new game. Haven't played it, but I know it's a game that's out there.
Yeah. I was joking with Dan when he told me about it, and I was like, all right, so let me see here. Keyforge is you have one deck. Soulforge Fusion is where you have two combined decks.
Yeah.
We get to a point where there's three, like Triforged.
Yeah.
Right? You have three different ones together.
Yeah.
What if you get to a point where you can just mix any cards that you have into a deck? That would be so cool if they did that.
I see what you did there. That's funny.
Anywho.
Yeah. So, all right. The next thing, we're going to rattle these off, but digital only card games. Hearthstone,
Terrible.
the OG, which I would,
What?
that game,
it's fun.
It is fun. It's fun. But I think the reason a lot of people quit that game was just the RNG was just way too much.
Dude,
it was crazy.
rough.
It was really crazy.
But the story modes, you guys would probably have a lot of fun.
Oh,
with the story modes.
yeah. Those were fun. And that really gives you a good intro into like the cards in that set that they came out with.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun going through all those.
Oh, yeah.
It's basically, I mean, it is, you're playing a puzzle, basically figuring out what deck can I build to beat this specific person. So that was always fun.
Yeah.
Legends of Runeterra, amazing. Such a good game.
Yeah.
If you're at all into digital card games, definitely check out Legends of Runeterra, free to play.
Great story mode. The PvE is phenomenal.
PvE is fun in that game. Yeah. It really is. Gwent is another one. If you like The Witcher, you've probably heard of Gwent. That is still around. I'm pretty sure that game is healthy. The competitive scene is relatively healthy. The other two that I have down here, Shadowverse. Shadowverse is fun. Were you the one who told me that they were coming out with an IRL?
Yes, I did.
Physical card game?
Yes, I did. I can't wait.
I would love to see that.
Yeah. They're going to have like 8
I need to see
six.
English.
Yeah, they're going to have like 6 starter decks.
Okay.
And I can't wait.
Yeah. Actually, when we finish recording this, I'm going to look that up and just kind of see the status of that. And then the other one is Eternal. That one, I believe Louis Scott Vargas kind of helped make that game, develop that game. It's been out for a while. You can check it out on Steam. They do have a mobile version. The other thing I wanted to mention, honestly, like if you're on PC or even Mac, go to Steam and just search card games. There are so many. You've got Slay the Spire is such a good deck building game. It's a deck building
People
roguelike.
game on Macs?
I don't know. I
Is that
used
a
to.
thing?
I used to when I had a MacBook.
Can you even have Steam on Mac?
I don't know if you can get Steam, but there are other clients that you can get.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if you can get Steam on Mac.
PC Master Race, guys.
Correct. I agree. But go get on your PC, go to Steam, and then just search card game. You will find so many. There's way too many for me to even list. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. But you should check out Roguebook. Roguebook is fun. But there's like Slay the Spire is probably like the OG deck building roguelike.
Yeah.
Such a good game.
Yeah, it's so good.
And then you'll get into the rabbit hole of finding all these other games. Okay. And then I am still waiting to hear. I tweeted at Cryptozoic today, and I'm like, "Hey, Cryptozoic, what's the word on DC Dual Force? Like, where are we at with that?" Yeah. That was the they announced it basically a year ago. They announced it a year ago. They announced it a year ago, and they said Q3 of I want to say they said Q3 of this year, and so we haven't seen a thing about it. Really? So it's been that long. Yeah, it's been that long. Yeah. Wow. So okay. I'm interested to know the status of that. So DC Dual Force it's a DC digital card game. Yeah. So we don't know barely anything about the game. Yeah. So I want to know about this game, please. All right. Lastly, these co-op card games. Yes. Marvel Champions, Arkham Horror the card game, Lord of the Rings the card game.
All a blast.
They are all.
If you guys are card game fans, play them.
Yep.
You have friends that play it, play with them.
You can play solo, but these are a lot of fun cooperatively playing with friends. So, so these are all card games that we've either played or know about. I mean, the right now, the thing about being a card game player is there's so many great card games to play. There's so many great card games to play, and honestly, there is one out there that you will really fall in love with and enjoy.
Which I have a question for you, Dan.
Yes.
Out of all of these games, which one have you had just the most fun playing? It doesn't have to be Magic. You could pick a different one, but if Magic is the one where you've had the most fun, the one you just enjoyed playing the most.
I mean, so honestly, like my, I guess experience, like if we're talking about how much time I've spent playing these games, but what I'm saying is like, I have to take that in consideration. Okay. Because I've played a whole lot of all of these games. The game that I've played the most is Magic. Okay. Yeah. So therefore, like I've had that much more many more experiences playing the game. Mm-hmm. So there's more opportunities for me to have had more fun time playing it. Now, I would say of all these games, which game have I had the least amount of fun playing? It would be Magic. Because go back to the beginning of this episode when I was complaining about the land system, right? Okay. So like
Blue Tempo.
Blue Tempo, right? So like I've played Pokemon. Yu-Gi-Oh was fun, but again, I played Yu-Gi-Oh all of twice, basically. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
I guess it's partially a thing if you haven't really played a lot of other card games. Correct.
I've played all of these games a little bit. Okay. Yeah. But all of them are like here, but then you've got Magic is like way up here, right? Yeah. Legends of Runeterra is also kind of up there too. But to be quite honest with you, the two that I'm like three that I'm like really kind of excited for are Final Fantasy, Versus System. Okay, which is weird because Versus System is not a TCG. Okay, it's just an expandable card game, but I really like the IPs that they have and just the game system itself. I think is really really intriguing and very cool. Yeah. And then Disney Lorcana. Okay, I mean I'm just removing Magic from the conversation entirely, just because. I mean I feel like Magic is just like the
nothing else is come close.
Yeah, right.
In terms of gameplay.
Right.
Or
right.
game
right.
Spent.
Yeah. Magic is just like the I don't know, the redheaded stepchild. I don't know. I really don't know what to how best to classify it. But I Final Fantasy is just, I'm having a blast. Not even playing it, but just like researching it and looking into it and finding these decks.
Honestly, that's like half the fun for card games.
Yeah.
It's learning about something new.
Yeah. Right. So that's why I like Final Fantasy versus system. And then I'm really hyped for Disney Lorcana. Yeah. And I'm hyped for finding more about it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I'm really excited for that. And I mean, I've talked about what my favorite card game is in the past before. Do you remember?
No.
No?
What are you gonna say? No, go ahead. You say it.
It's Vanguard.
Is it Vanguard?
Vanguard was the game that I have had the most fun in compared to every other card game.
And I played Vanguard once. I had fun. I had a lot of fun playing it.
Yeah.
But how much cards do you have? Do you have stuff for Vanguard?
I used to have I still have a bit of it.
Okay.
I first started playing as soon as it came to the US.
Okay.
I was there from the two structure decks, the two starter decks, and the first set. And then I was playing for years until they got to a point where they kind of made my deck like obsolete. Well, it just wasn't a thing in the gameplay when they turned it into the G era, I think is what it was called. And so it just wasn't a thing because they came out with a rotating format at that point, right? And I was like, all right, I can't wait for them to give us support. And then they never did until the last set. Once that last set came out, a week later, they had spoilers, or my bad, the set wasn't even out. They released what my Link Joker was going to do, my Chaos Breaker Dragon. And then within a week, they said that they were ending G era, going into a new format. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I was so upset. I wasn't even playing. I kind of stopped playing like 6 months before that time frame happened. But after that, I was just like, I don't even want to touch the game anymore.
Really?
Yeah. I was playing for the whole original set of Vanguard, went into the V era, was playing up until the end of G, and then I don't even want to touch Overdress, which is what the new stuff is called.
Stuff is, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so this whole conversation just like it gets me thinking about like what's your go-to card game? Like your go-to card game format. Like for me it's Magic Commander.
Yeah.
It's Magic Commander because like that's the game and format that if I want to have a good time, I call up my buddies like, all right, let's play Commander, guys. I think I've got my decks and I'm ready to go.
I have brought up to you in the past as well, if I didn't have so many people in my life playing Magic, I wouldn't be nearly as into Magic as I would be.
Really?
Yeah. Like I enjoy Magic.
Yeah.
But it's also a thing of I'm also just playing these card games with the people around me.
Yeah.
Right. So like if a bunch of my friends wanted to go play Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
If a bunch of them wanted to go play Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm down.
Right. And that is like also why it's like I want to know, I want to be able to play and know how to play all these different games. So like, oh, you want to play Final Fantasy? All right, I got a deck. Let's go. You want to play Yu-Gi-Oh? All right, I got a deck. Let's go.
Which when I was talking about Dragon Ball Super and like how it gave me a headache every single time I played it. Right. I have a couple friends that play it, and I see them every now and again, and they're opening packs. They're playing Dragon Ball Super, and I'm like, I love the artwork. I'm a big fan of Dragon Ball Z, and it's just like watching them play it. I'm like, man, I want to play. I just want to have fun. And so, but I know I don't want to play it competitively. I know I don't want to take it seriously. So I'm just like, what are some cards that I see that I like, and just build like something stupid, and just have fun that way.
Yeah.
And not hurt myself.
Literally and figuratively.
Literally hurt myself.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, and that's also why it's like, yes, I enjoy playing Magic Commander, and like, that's the format that I really love playing when it comes to Magic.
Yeah,
Okay,
it is the most fun.
But I'm like, there's these other games that I'm like, I really kind of want to get into more.
Yeah,
and it's like, I want to play them more, and I want to get people to play these games with. Right?
Can you imagine if we had 4 people to play Champions with?
That'd be fun.
That would be a blast.
That'd be a night. It'd be a long night
Yeah,
because we got 4 people. Oh, so you take the villain's health. Okay, multiply that by 4. Like, oh,
it would take a while.
It'd be a long.
I'm
time.
playing Cyclops if we're playing a 4-man game.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going first, guys. And then I'll be like, hey, activate that for me. Hey, activate that. Let's get this stuff going.
Yeah, we're waiting on the last 2. We're waiting on the last 2, which we know who it is. We know who it is. I got Gambit. I don't even know what he does yet, but I want to play Gambit.
I want to throw cards.
I 100% want to throw cards. All right, I'm going to toss it to you guys. What is your go-to card game?
Yes.
Did we talk about it? Did we not talk about it?
Oh, we talked.
Because again, if we didn't talk about it, I want to know what it is because I'm interested. If I don't know what it is,
if we didn't talk about it, your card game's dead. Dude, like it's dead. All right.
Yeah, but again, like, are you hyped for Disney Lorcana? And like, that's one where it's like they're gonna milk the hype train for all it's worth and then some.
Yeah. Because
that's what people are all about. Like, we're all about the hype train, and we want to talk about it and we want to know more. But I want to know what's your go-to card game, and why. Why is it your go-to card game? Do you have a specific format in that card game that you really like to play? Like when it comes to Pokemon, I like playing Legacy. I'm playing Legacy Pokemon. That's
you
my
like
deck.
playing your eggs.
Yep. My Weavile eggs deck is a lot of fun. So, all right. Well, with that, we're gonna jump into Jim. What are we talking about? What are we talking about now?
The comment question of the day,
Also known as the card of the week.
Day. Yeah, the card of the week.
It's late, guys. All right, so this card, when I remember Jim.
They saw the back of it.
Well, Jim came over. Whenever you came over last is when I showed you this card.
A few days ago?
Whenever I showed you this card.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, dude, you need to check out this card.
As soon as I read it. Like, this card is stupid.
Yeah. What else? What'd you think?
I instantly thought it was broken. And then,
all right. So this card is currently on the restricted list.
No. Don't tell him that information.
No, don't. Okay.
I was just going to say, just read the card.
All right. So the card. Here we go.
Don't even tell him what it's called.
All right, here's the card. Okay, it's a forward. Okay, for each Earth forward other than Sophie you control, Sophie gains plus 2,000 power. For each water forward other than Sophie you control, Sophie gains plus 2,000 power. She already has 4,000 power. Okay.
I guess you did tell him the name. Of the card.
It's in there. Yeah. At the end, here we go. At the end of each of your turns, if Sophie has 10,000 power or more, draw 1 card, and Sophie deals your opponent 1 point of damage. She's broken, guys.
She's so broken.
So, okay, so I'm in the process of building quite a few Final Fantasy decks. Okay, and so there's this one deck. Okay, it's monks. Okay, Sophie is a monk, and there's this one deck. It's mono earth. It's a mono earth monks deck. Okay, Sophie is like the key card. Okay, you should be playing 3 copies of Sophie. However, she is on the restricted list, so you can only play 1 copy.
Yep.
And that's the only reason you're playing 1 copy is because she's restricted.
Good news is, though, I believe you're able to search for her.
In the deck, you can search for her, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So with other cards in
there are multiple ways of searching for Sophie, and you want to find Sophie.
Yeah. And you also have ways to pull her from the graveyard as well, I believe.
Yeah, and that's a big thing in Final Fantasy. So she's got a base 4,000 power, and so she gets plus 2,000 for each other Earth and plus 2,000 for each other water forward. So you just need 3. Well,
does that also count multicolor?
Yeah. So if you have another, now all the other forwards in the deck are all Earth.
Yeah.
Okay. So you just need three other forwards. Okay. I don't think there's any other water forwards in the deck. They're just all Earth forwards. So you just need 3 other Earth forwards, and then she's at that 10,000 power mark. So end of your turn, I will draw a card. I will deal you a point of damage. And remember, with Final Fantasy, and again, we're gonna do other Final Fantasy videos. Okay, so just check our channel later for other Final Fantasy content. However, one of the ways you win in that game is dealing your opponent 7 points of damage.
Yep.
So you deal their damage directly to them, and then they have a damage zone where they flip the top card over, and then once you have 7 cards in that damage zone, that's your 7 points of damage. Yes. So she can deal damage without having to attack.
So good.
That's
crazy.
Cards
like that.
That's crazy. So the deck is really cool. And so the first time I saw this card, I'm like, she does what? What?
She's broken.
Absolutely crazy.
How did this card get passed?
That's crazy.
How did this card get made?
But there's a lot of power creep, dude. I'm telling you, power creep is crazy.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just looking at some of these the more recent cards in the recent sets, and it's just the power level is just getting higher and higher and higher. I mean, if you look at the earlier, now granted, I don't have a ton of experience with this game, right? But I think if you look at the earlier Opus sets, I don't even know. I'm wondering the first set where they had a card that dealt damage directly to your opponent without having to really do anything.
I don't know.
So, yeah, Sophie is dude,
broken.
She's crazy, man.
She's the most broken card in the game.
Crazy.
All right, she's not the most broken card in the game.
No.
But she is definitely very strong.
Yeah, definitely strong.
And she does exactly what I want her to do. Draw me cards and deal damage face.
Yeah.
What more can I ask for, Dan?
Yeah. I feel like you're going to really like this deck.
Probably.
Yeah, you're probably going to really like this deck.
Probably.
So I'm excited to get these decks built, and then just me and Jim just sit down and play them.
Dude, the best part, she's 2 mana.
Yeah. 2 CP.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant.
CP. But it's interesting. But it's interesting you say that too, right? Just the mana, because
is it though?
It is, because like you're basing your experience, like all your card game experience around one game, essentially. Like you're like everything you know about this game, you're applying that to this other game that uses completely different system and words and naming conventions for their cards and everything.
Words don't matter.
Yeah, right.
Systems matter.
Right. So, all right. Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we got for today's episode. Again, I want to bring it back to that question that I asked earlier. What is your go-to card game? I really, really would love to know that. Let me know. I mean, one thing we didn't even touch on, like we did not talk about deck building games at all.
Yeah.
Like that's a completely another genre of card games that is a lot of fun. It's so much fun that we didn't even touch on. So guys, there's so many card games out there that, as a card game player, there's so much out there for us. There's so much out there for us that, and honestly, like I want to get all these different games out there that way our community knows about them. That maybe if they haven't heard about them, they can check them out and see if it's something they would want to get into. So again, what's your go-to card game, and how do you like to play that card game? So let us know, Jim. What's your go-to card game? Do you have a go-to?
It's
Magic Commander.
Yeah, it's Magic Commander.
Yeah. So same. I kind of want to change it. Not like because I don't enjoy Magic Commander, but like I want to widen my horizons.
It's just because everyone I know just plays Magic.
Yeah. And that's why it's like one thing I want to do when we open up our store. Yeah. I want to know all these other games and grow all of these other communities. Yeah. So that way, not only I can play all these other games, but just so we can grow the communities and get more people playing these awesome card
introduce
games.
The people we already know in the card games to these other card games.
Sure. Yeah.
So that they can even learn and why we even love them so much.
Yeah, for sure. But then they'll have to make that decision on their own if I want to buy cards and get into the game.
Do I want to get that into that game too?
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, all right. Well, that's all we got for today. Jim, where can people find you on the internet, sir?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram at Jim Morgan HNH.
You guys can find me on Twitter at _DGCampbell and on Instagram at Daniel.G.Campbell. And then if you head over to our website, www.hobbiesandhappiness.com, you can find links to just about all of our social content there, as well as our links to our YouTube channel as well. So, all right. Well, thanks everybody for being here. And you know what? We will catch you in the next episode. See you, everybody.
Take care.